another Indo-Indians informative session online. And today we have something very different. And before I continue, let me introduce myself. I'm Poonam Sagar at Indoindians.com. And we keep doing these many online sessions, not only informative, but also fun. And today we have with us Dr. Prana. Dr. Prana is not just a healer, but he is also a visionary who empowers individuals to transform their lives, achieve inner peace, and live in harmony with nature. He integrates Ayurvedic medicine, yoga, Chinese medicine, craniosacral work, PEMF therapy, mindfulness, and inner alchemy practices. He offers a comprehensive approach to wellness and transformation. So welcome, Dr. Prana.
Thank you.
So Dr. Prana,
hello everyone.
Half the things that I read, I do not understand. And only after I heard about Marma therapy that I went and looked online on what is Marma therapy. And so it would be wonderful if you could tell us all about it, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Poonam. I'm going to share a screen so you can all follow through easily. It'll help guide the whole talk and conversation. So I'll take questions at the end. So you can type in your questions, but I'll answer them if I can while covering the talk as well as at the end. So I'll begin by giving you a little bit about me, who I am, where I come from, what I do, kind of thing. So as an education, I became an engineer from going into school in India, then did my MBA. And then later on, I was technology for about 15 years and then changed to becoming a doctor of Chinese medicine and acupuncture in US. So that's what I practice, but I still have my roots in both sides, engineering as well as alternative, or we call holistic medicine. So my recent work is all about Oriental medicine. I became doctor of Chinese medicine about 10 years ago, and I have practiced and licensed in 2 states in US, California and Florida. But before that, I studied craniosacral work, which comes from osteopathy. And I studied that, and I teach now as well, and I practice for over 20 years. But from age 13, I have been studying Ayurveda with a Siddha teacher in Gujarat because of my own reason of my own self-healing. So I started medicine on learning on my own from a Siddha teacher in Gujarat from age 13 until 26, about a decade. And then I was done with my engineering, and then I moved along in different places. So my foundation of all the healing work actually comes from Siddha medicine, which is also called Siddha alchemy. And all of these I combine together, Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, and craniosacral work, which comes from osteopathy. If I'm doing a treatment, I don't do like a modality based, I do, because all three, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, craniosacral work, they have same roots. They're entangled roots, I say. And I'll give a little bit about it. I'm still an engineer, so I actually make apps. I just made an app that I released on Android. There's a free version and a professional version for frequency generation that you can use it for binaural beats, which helps to release insomnia and all kind of mental challenges. But I also make these peripheral devices, which are these small coils that you can actually apply on acupuncture points. They generate magnetic pulses, and they help you. You can apply also on the Marma points as well. And this is the whole system with peripheral amplifier and the device, which is any phone. It will work on any Android phone. So what is that Marma that we apply these and helps? And so that's using magnetic field or pulsating magnetic will be like a new technology on Marma. But Marma has been used for ancient times. So let's go into what Marma it is and how it has been used, and how you can learn to use it in your own self-healing, or also for your own integrating with any healing practices you have. So what is Marma? In Sanskrit, it's called Marma Vidya, and sometimes it's also called Marma Kala, which basically means art and practice of Marma, or a wisdom of Marma, or knowledge of Marma. Marm literally is a Sanskrit word which means hidden. Like if you read a poetry line by line, you won't understand the meaning of poetry if you kind of look up dictionary in every word. But once you understand all of the words together, then suddenly meaning will appear from the poetry. So it's called the merm, or the essence. So merma points are hidden essence points. When did that all start? The oldest one documented or oral tradition is very old. Sage Agastya, or Rishi Agastya, he was in Mahabharata time, Ramayana times. So we're talking about thousands and thousands of years ago. He described Marma, and he is considered Agastya. On the left is actually the statue is from Java temple in East Java, but this is a South Indian statue, on the golden one. Agastya is also, Sage Agastya is considered as the father of Siddha medicine, which I learned in Gujarat. He described in brief that there are hidden points where our consciousness and pranas and all the hidden things are there that can be used for healing, diagnostics, and also for inner work, inner alchemy, which he was primarily focused on doing that. And then Sage Yajnavalkya, who was, so Agastya was Vedic sage a long time ago. He's considered one of the 7 Vedic primary sages, Saptarishi. But he kind of gave brief. He didn't go much details other than oral traditions. Yajnavalkya was the first one to describe them in detail a little bit, and then he described 18 points. Yajnavalkya is considered the first philosopher on the planet. If you look up who is the first philosopher, Yajnavalkya's name will come. So he wrote what is called Yajnavalkya Simriti, and also Yajnavalkya who comes as a Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which is considered one of the oldest Upanishads. We're talking about 4,000, 5,000 BC. He described 18 points for specifically inner work. And those were the 18 points I learned first from my Siddha teachers when I was 13, 45 years ago, or 43 years ago. Those 18 points are used to separate your awareness from senses, which is called pratyahar. If you do yoga, one of the things you do after pranayam before doing dhyan is to move your awareness inward, kind of disconnecting from the outer world and going inner world. And he described those 18 points to be able to do that. And that was the first description of Marma point for inner work, for actually working with your own mind and helping you to disconnect from world and going inward. And then comes Shushra, 600 BC. He's considered as the father of surgery. If you look up on Google, who is the first documented surgeon on the planet is the Ayurvedic doctor, Shushra. He was alive when Buddha was alive. So they were contemporaries, and he was in Takshila, which has now become just a museum in Pakistan. He created these instruments, and there are some of them are actually in Museum of Pakistan, these one on the right bottom. And they're still there in the museum. They are like 600 BC. So we're talking about Buddha's time. And he described 107 Marma points instead of 18. So he took 18 and explained further, saying that these points you have to be very careful when you're doing surgery. And these points should be used to diagnose as well as treat. And these are the same points that are used in the oldest martial art on the planet, Kalaripayattu. The same Marma points are used for defensive, offensive. So these Marma points have been there with us, with our culture and tradition for thousands of years, not just new. And these you can say are like a forefathers of all the points that acupuncture talks about, or all the reflexology points or thigh massage. All of those actually are rooted in these 107 points, which were 18 initially described by Yajnavalkya and then became 107 by the time Sushruta came. And they're still used as 107 today. So how are these work? What is these Marma points, and how do they actually work? And how can some things in the body can help you to heal, also help you to actually even make other person incapacitated if you're doing in martial art, or you can actually diagnose using these points. So how are these work? Where are the bodies, and how does it all connect? For that, we have to kind of go a little bit backwards and understand what is really human being. What do we talk about being human? So Charak, the great father of Ayurveda, he says that everything in the world, so he uses the word lokastasti, which means all of the creation is built on three aspects: consciousness, mind, and physical body. Yes, from Charak's perspective, the computer that you're using, the table you're sitting on, chair you're sitting, has consciousness. It has also mind, and it has the form, because that's where you're able to touch it. So there is nothing in the whole creation that doesn't have consciousness. It's not just the only human beings have consciousness or living organ. He says everybody. There is, because we all come from the one. If there is only one source and we all come from that same one source, that means everything has consciousness, from ants to galaxies to computers. And then he says, living being, not just the human being. Sorry, it's going backwards. So he says not just the, it might disconnect for a second.
We can hear you and see the screen just fine, Dr. Prana.
Yeah, give me a second. It will disconnect and it'll come back because the power got pulled. Give me a second. Sorry about that.
So for everyone who's online, I hope you're finding it very, very interesting so far, because even I did not know about Marma Yoga or Marma Vidya. In fact, that was the first time that I learned about it. And so Chaya had introduced me to Dr. Prana. Dr. Prana is in the US currently. And for him, it's like really early in the morning.
It's actually late night. It's 11 p.m.
Late night, late night. So we said it needs to be at a time where more people can listen to you and hear what you're saying.
Okay, it should be back now.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Sorry for that. So Shushruth, we talked about the Kalaripathu as well. We talked about Charak saying that everything has consciousness. But then he said, living being. He added four things. So how do you differentiate from table in you or table in me, living beings and non-animate tables and windows and everything? He said, every living being, jiva, not human being, ants, bacteria, anything that is alive has a fourth thing, which is senses. So he kind of adds another ingredient. So in order to be alive, you have to have senses. Otherwise, you're just an inanimate stone or a table or a galaxy or a sun or a planet. Only living being has senses. And we often think senses means my eyes and ears and nose, but that's not what Charak is talking about. Those are sense organs, not senses. The word in Sanskrit is indri, but these are sense organs, not senses, because when you sleep, you go into dream. You still see things and hear things and feel things. You're walking as well. So that's the senses in your subtle body that is going in the dream. When you wake up, the same subtle body connects to your physical body, and now you see the outer world. So senses are not physical. Organs are physical, but not the senses. Senses is what he calls the subtle body. And that's what he's pointing to, that in order to be alive, you just don't have physical body, mind, which gives the shape to the physical body, and the consciousness. In order for us to function as a living being, there is a subtle body that has senses that links to the physical and consciousness in between, and it connects so you're made up of four things, not three. Most people think it's mind, body, and consciousness. Mind, body, consciousness, everything has. But what living beings have is a subtle body that has senses. And those senses is what the subtle bodies have. That's where the beginning of Marma is. So when we talk about subtle body, you actually have three bodies, not one body. If you're a Buddhist, you may have heard of Trikaya, which shows the three bodies of Buddha. But if you go through the Ayurvedic text and Vedic text, it talk about three levels of prana. Prana is same in Sanskrit as Chinese medicine as chi. So I have three levels of bodies or three forms of prana. The first is the physical that you already know, which is your physical body shape. It has what is called sthula prana or gross prana. Here I showed you the artist of showing the three Buddhas, three Trikayas, which is called the Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Dharmakaya. And here is an American artist who is very visionary. And he's showing you the physical body with inner pranas, and he's showing the outer one and the whole world or cosmos having that third aspect. And that's the three levels. So if you think about it, we have three bodies. The physical body is called the gross, which is the one that you can feel and touch with your physical senses and physical sense organs. It supports your physical body, high vitality, walking around in the world. So those pranas that do that are called sthula prana or gross prana. Then there is a subtle body that you go into dream with, that you travel into astral lands if you're a yogi. That subtle prana is what connects the psychic aspect of us, that you have visions and you have memories and you have consciousness goes into different planes and you have dreams. That's called subtle prana. And then there is cosmic prana, which is the prana that creates and supports all of the universe. And those are the three levels. So when we're talking about marma, we're talking about the middle one, subtle. That's where the marmas are. And that subtle body has channels. We call those channels, as you know them, as nadis, which means literally channel. That's where the marma are. Plural of marma is marmani. That's what we Sanskrit, when we add ani, it makes it plural. So marma points are literally called marmani. And the same thing is about marma and chakras are same when it comes to Marma Vidya. Because when the channels cross together, it's like you take two streams of water, you run them across, it creates a vortex. And that vortex is what is called marma. And that same vortex is also what we call chakra. So the 6 chakras that you know mostly in yoga and Ayurveda and most New Age people talk about, they're part of this 107 marmas. So there are regions in the subtle body where the channels cross together and they create vortexes. But the pranas itself extends beyond the body. That's why if you look at the Harish Johri's picture on the left, an artist, he shows cosmic and as whole field. And inside them, we have channels. And as per the Upanishads, we have 7.2 million nadis, not 10, 14, 15, as people tell you. 7.2 million, that's the Upanishads talks about. 72,000 of them actually converge in the heart. Yes, there is a main central channel around which all other channels open up, but total of them are over 7.2 million, not 1, 2, or 14 channels. So that's what the subtle body is, built up of all the channels through which all these pranas are flowing and giving the functions to the organs and senses, connecting your mind to the consciousness, to the body. And you feel like, yes, you're just person who is walking around in the world, but under that, there is so much going on. I mean, if you can imagine 7.2 million channels functioning together to hold us as a person, and we can see dreams, we can see memories, we can have visions, we can see future. But where they connect together, they create vortexes where the consciousness kind of binds with mind and prana. Those regions are called marma. That's why they're vibrational. They're not physical. Yes, they connect with physical body, but they are vibrational because nadis contain pranas that are vibrating through it. They're not something that any instruments can find or connect with it. What instrument can find and connects is what is happening that changes into the physical body, blood flow, sensitive of the skin, all of those things, nerve conduction. But beyond that is subtle, that science has yet to find a connection with, that an instrument that can detect. But these are the channels through which the marmas come and arise, because that's where we say that consciousness and prana infuse together. So those are also called knots, sometimes the granthis. And that's where we are connected with physical bodies. So if you now you can understand, if I have a point in my body that is painful, and if that point is a marma, which means that channel is having problem, which will affect that organ. And if I attack at that point and disrupt that infusion of consciousness and prana, that part will become incapacitated. And that's why they used it as a defensive art in Kalaripayattu. But you can bring your awareness into that point and bring all your consciousness out of those points. That was Yajnavalkya said, that's how you do the inner alchemy of connecting and healing inward. Those are the ways it has been used for generations, for thousands of years. And it's been there documented. You can look up in Sanskrit text and everything. So nowadays we call 108 marmas because we added one more now I mean is after 500 BC, after Shishra. So otherwise, originally 18, then 107. Vedic and Upanishad talk about 107. Now we use 108. And 108 is supposed to be also connected with the one marma that Upanishads and the oral tradition only talked about, but they never wrote it down. So that's why now we write it down and we have 108 marmas. So how do you use them? Well, if you look into all the Buddhist world and all the Hindu world, they actually talk about doing inner work. You bring your awareness to different marmas, you unlock the power that is connected with it, and you open up and change your healing. You can see these two pictures. One on the left side is from the Hindu text or Vedic Upanishads, and the right side is actually Buddhist. The Buddhist text is talking about all the places where the consciousness, and so they show the male and female in combined together as an archetype, but they're not really men and women together inside your body. There are no all these people inside you with multiple hands and multiple. So we call them as in Buddhist world, Buddhas and Dakinis, but they are actually your own consciousness and your own mind, or your own pranas and your own mind coming together and has attributes. So this union of mind and prana together is what is the Buddhists are talking about, which you see in the picture, but they're often treated as if they're talking about deities somewhere out there. They're not deities, they're forces inside you of the whole cosmos, because remember, this physical body is connected to subtle body, which is connected to the cosmic bodies. So literally all of the cosmos is kind of embodied in every person, and they're all connected. And these points that intersect, we call them hidden points, or the marma, where the hidden essence is. Now here is when I went to Tibet in 2010, this is Dalai Lama's palace, which is Potala Palace. But behind that Potala Palace is actually a temple. It's called Lukhang Temple or Lukhang Palace. That's on the top right, you can see. It's just a building with 3 floors. The bottom floor is about the ceremonial figures and the prayers they do. But the second and third floors, there is nothing, only wall murals. In other words, walls have paintings that describe how to do inner work, and different yoga postures, different inner works, and different way of connecting with different ways of doing things and going into different astral planes and things like that. So in one of the wall mural, there is a picture of this, where a practitioner is kind of pulsating, vibrating points on person's neck. And Dalai Lama quoted when he saw that picture, saying the realization in the inner work begins from direct experience of clear light. And this technique is called Vajra wave. So it's not like pressing button or pressing points. It's like generating a wave on certain points on the neck. He says precise energy points, which is basically marmani, at the side of the neck are very powerful for awakening clear light, the mind's innate luminosity. So here in one paragraph, he kind of described the points around the neck, which are also called in Sanskrit jewels, manias. Those marma points names is called manias, which is the jewels. And they literally kind of pointing you that if you work on those neck and you know how to do it, with precise energy wave, then it will clear your mind. It will reduce your insomnia. It will release your ADHD. It will clear your anxiety and depression, and it will calm you down. So it's directly there, and it's being used for ancient times. It's not something that we kind of made up right now. It's not something, it's been there for a long time. And we have been using it for a long time in our culture, in our tradition. And when you'll see it, when I show you a picture, that it is used everywhere. It's just that we don't connect with it where they come from. Like Kalaripattu is same defensive art, comes from using the same Marma points. And Marma points can be used for many things. You can work with all kind of pain, arthritis, headache, musculoskeletal, acute or chronic, anxiety, depression. I just showed you the neck points help, and much more. It can help with organs. It can help with chronic diseases. It can help with, so you can learn to use them, and you can incorporate for your own self-healing, which I did from age 13. I learned how to use it on my own healing because I was born early and went in incubator. So my immune system was very weak, and I used to get sick a lot as a child. And these are the things that helped me. And that's why I also went back from engineering into doing doctorate in Chinese medicine, because in US, you can't practice Ayurveda because there is no doctor of Ayurveda in US like in India. But in US, you can practice Ayurveda under either if you're an MD or an acupuncturist. So that's why I went and did my doctorate in Chinese medicine. And then I realized the acupuncture points, they have roots in the same Marma points. So how we use it in many different ways. For example, the points on the head, you can use it with certain way of moving them and connecting with them to open it and close it, to help them to move the prana and move it. You can also use the gemstones. So now you know why a lot of people use gemstones from ancient times around neck or on the forehead, because gemstones, remember I said Marma points are vibrational. They are not physical. They are in the subtle body. So you can see, you can use the gemstones to do it. You can use the essential oils to do it. You can also use what this one point on the top right, it's in the between the forehead. It's called Sthapani in Sanskrit, in Marma point name. It basically establishes back to you in your own self. For example, you're hungover or you're anxious or you had a bad trauma that you're no longer in the body. You don't feel yourself and you feel, I am no longer myself. I can't remember anything. I have foggy head. I can't seem to understand what's going on and I can't able to sleep. So in Ayurveda, we do Shirodhara, which means we take an oil and we drip it on that Sthapani point, which is the Marma point between the two eyes on the forehead. It eliminates all of these things, headaches. It eliminates wind in the brain, so you don't get foggy head and restless mind, and you don't get to worry about too many things. So it calms the mind down. Sthapani literally means it brings you back. It establishes back into your own self, so you can be back to yourself. And then we also use it on back. Like there are Marma points on the back for healing. Here in this case, we kind of make a pond of oil by creating a donut from the dough and then we put oil, warm oil, and we leave it there. So it soaks into the Marma point, it soaks into the subtle channels, and then it opens that subtle channels. We also use it with the heat. So this is actually a copper point that is heated. So that's why it's a little red on the front. And we use it for wind, which is primarily arthritis and musculoskeletal joints, where the joints are degenerated and it creates a lot of cracking noises and pain when you wake up or walk. So we use those heat on the Marma points. And you probably have seen the spas where, and if you remember our tradition in India, we always bow down to people's feet. But if you notice, where are we bowing down? We're actually bowing down to that Marma point, which is between the big toe and the second toe. And that's the Marma point. We bow down to connect the person who is elderly, to take the wisdom from them. And here in the spa, we're using to close that point with the lemon or lime, actually, to help person to be in their own life. And then I already talked about how we use it with the magnetic pulses, which is the PEMF device that I created. And there are many PEMF devices or magnetic pulses devices that you can use it on Marma as well, which can be used on acupuncture point. So I'm showing you a few of them, but you can understand across all of Ayurveda, across all of Siddha medicine, these Marma points are the main points to actually work with. All the manual therapies that you go to Kerala Ayurveda or any Ayurveda, they're using the oil and doing massages, but they're also pressing the points. Now, the points are used for both diagnostics and also healing. So when we press a point, if it's painful or if it's numb, it indicates certain imbalance. And then we correct the imbalance using the oil, heat, or just the vibrations, or just you helping yourself to get into that point using your own mind. Like Yagyavalkya talk about going inside you and connecting with that your own mind with that point. With the 18 points, he said, are the primary one to do that. And those 18 points are also considered the points that connects with the different days of moon. So moon, as it goes through different days, it creates the 16 points and then 2 eclipses, creating the 18 phases of the moon, they are called. And those are what the points also connect to. So those Marma points have astrological sense. If you think about astrology, has 9 planets and 12 houses. If you multiply 9 and 12, comes to 108, which is the 108 Marma points linking to astrology. So you can think about it, how vast that Marma is, so deep into that. You can go into astrology, you can go into self-healing, you can work with people's stress and regeneration, you can bring into your own self-routine when you're working or going for a shower, or diagnosing and supporting yourself what is going on with you or other people. And they're not difficult to learn because they have been there forever. And some of them points are easy to learn. And some of the points can also be used for internal work, like meditation and working with people as well on your own, or meditating on your own. And we use it also, I didn't show in this, we also use herbal poultice. So we take herbs along with essential oils, we put it on the Marma points for its vibrational energy to go into the subtle body to open those channels. And Marma points connect with blood supply, connect with joints, connect with muscles, because that's where the pranas are connecting and linking. They connect with the bones, they connect with the senses, and they also connect with the deeper level of your awareness, because they originate in the subtle body. So if you have to think about Marma, don't just think them as just the region to press buttons and press points. They are not that. They're much deeper. They have physical, subtle, and much deeper significance in terms of healing, in terms of working with them. So in summary, if you have to think, basic Marma therapy is very easy to learn and master. It's safe. It can be safely practiced. You can do it for your own self-healing. If you are already a practitioner, you can integrate with the daily, with your own practice as healing or with other healings. And if you're interested, I'll be there in Jakarta in May 7 and 8 doing 2 days workshop. If you are interested, you can register. That's the website to register, and then we'll contact you. Chaya Babani is the key person in Jakarta to help you to connect with that. With that, I will open up for any questions. We have still 14 minutes or so. If you have any questions, I can open up and answer any questions.
So I think I have the first question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So can I ask you to stop your video, maybe?
Yeah.
Your not your video, sorry, screen share. Yes, thank you so much. So can you, as a layperson who's just been introduced to Marma, can you tell me, if I wanted to just see the benefits or something, could you give us maybe a point, or maybe?
So that's the point with it. Unless you understand what they are, where they are, even if I give you a point, you pushing buttons, pressing buttons won't do anything.
Okay.
And if you have a particular illness, each illness has a pattern. Many people have headaches, but no two people have same pattern. So you really have to go to a person who knows this. They diagnose it with pointing the pressing the point or taking the pulse and channel, and they see what pattern it is. And then we use the combination of points. One point doesn't do it. That's why, if you remember, I said Yagyavalkya started with 18 points. You could have given us 1 point and say, use this 1 point. It doesn't work that way. It's what people think that acupressure works. Maybe it relaxes you for a few minutes because somebody pressed your bones and muscles are relaxed. But that doesn't do. After 2 days, the pain will be back. But if you understand Marma well, the pain will be gone forever. So you have to think it's not about point. It's about understanding the whole system. And you can start with basic 18 points. You don't have to learn all 107 points. But learning how to work with them is really one-on-one person's knowing. That's why the books are there. It's been there for thousands of years. Why people can't practice? Because they have to really learn from another person how to go into that. Like Dalai Lama said, there is a precise way to pulsate on the neck so you can see clear light. Now, I can tell you there are points on the neck all along, and I showed you also in the picture. You can keep pressing those neck. You're not going to get any clear light. You might get a headache. So it's not a good idea for just me to say, here's the point, do it.
Right. So, is it, does it also have to do only with it sounds more like, like a very deep way of acupressure, but does this also, involve other things like diet, exercise, or a more holistic way of looking at it? Or is this just, the Marma
Yeah.
point?
So it depends on the pattern. So for example, your diet is fine, you're okay, but you're getting older and now you have suddenly back pain when you wake up. So now what happened probably that you someday got strained and then that strain is still there in your body. So for that, there is no diet change required. You go to the person who knows what the strain is and which marma to press and what to do. And it's not just pressing marma. We actually use essential oils. We use heat. We use cold. We use magnets. Now I use actually pulsating magnetic field, also PMF. We use gemstones or crystals, we call it. So there are many ways to bring the marma to a place where that connection that is lost between the consciousness and prana comes back. Any illness happens because the vital force inside us, prana, is disconnected from our own awareness. And then that part of the body starts to have problem. So all the marma is doing is helping you to reconnect back into your own self. That's why you can even do by yourself if you know where the points are and how to connect with it. You can even do with your own mind. That's what Yajnavalkya said in Pratyahar, that you can connect with your own mind with those points and link it back. Remember, your body is connected to cosmos. So the power to heal is coming from inside you. The person is not pressing point and doing anything. It's not like a machine that I'm tightening some screws on you. But the power to heal is inside you. All I'm doing is connecting you back with that power. So there's nothing I'm doing. So if you're doing therapy work and you're getting tired, that means you're actually pushing and pulling, that is tired you. But doing marma work in a way, if you understand, you'll never get tired because you're not doing any work. All you're doing is connecting that person's consciousness with their own inner power, and that heals it. That's all I'm doing. So there is nothing in me to do anything for them. It's their own power that is connected, which is basically the same power that is healing them. So all marma is doing is bringing that connection back. Think it that way. Don't think that, I know a lot of people talk about acupressure and all those things, but if you go deep into acupressure, it's not pressing points. It comes actually from Japan, not from China. China didn't come up with acupressure. It comes from Japan, shiatsu, which is basically very meditative practice. They're not pressing and pushing. They're actually sensing and feeling what's happening below you in the subtle body and working with it. China didn't create acupressure point. China came up with acupuncture, putting needles into it. But India created a lot before that heat and cold therapies and gemstones on the same points. But it's the goal is to connect the person's consciousness back to the universe's healing power that is inside them. That's
So,
what the whole therapy is about.
so Dr. Prana, with that very brief, answer, not very brief, but with that answer that you just shared, it seems to me that it's just, it's a much bigger practice than what can be taught. It means like you have spent your whole lifetime learning this, and it's all about connecting to the cosmos. So then it requires a whole lot of other practices like mindfulness, meditation, by being there, being connected to it, being really aware of whatever you're doing, and it is a much deeper practice.
Yeah, if you want to go into that direction, remember it goes. So you have physical body that has gross prana. Most of the disconnect that happens is that level. You're not aware how your stomach works. You're not aware how your eye functions. But if you suddenly have a stomach pain, you know that your stomach is off. So you can take medicine to do it. The marma is used at the same level as well. But yes, Yajnavalkya took it to the deeper level. But what I'm pointing to is that even your stomach to function back, your medicine is only clearing up things that blocked that functioning. So the same thing marma is doing, it's clearing up things that block that connection. And then, because even if your body cuts the point, now if you ask a Western doctor, how did my skin heal? He will say, I have no idea. All I did is put an ointment and put it together, and body healed itself. But even science doesn't know how does my skin heal itself. We only clean up the things so that nothing isn't blocking them. We put medication so nothing inside goes, parasites, and then body heals itself. So it's not like science is doing something, they're putting medication, that putting the skin together. No, its body is doing itself. Same thing Marma is doing. It's just clearing up things and making things flow where it's not flowing. But yes, you can, if you want to spend less of your life learning and going deeper, you can. And that's why a lot of practitioners like me do it. And my teacher did it, and his teacher did it. But I'm showing you the vast spectrum from a daily use for your normal pain in X to all the way to understanding how deep you can go with Marma.
So my last question to you, Dr. Prana, is that does understanding Marma points or also lead you to a spiritual practice? Does that also lead you to, you know, a guidance towards doing something more towards meditation?
If that's your goal, if your goal is healing, then it will help you to learn healing. If your goal is transformation of your mind and becoming aware of what really means to be human, and then look for what is going on, then it can help you there as well. But Marma, think it that way. It's not, so Yajnavalkya and all, they talked about that it helps pratyahar. It helps you to disconnect and go inward. But what you do after going inward, that requires a whole another level of awareness. That's where the spiritual teachers and all those come up. It only helps you to go inward. It doesn't make you enlightened and suddenly you'll become a master of enlightenment.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I agree there. It's not about becoming a master or a guru.
Correct.
It's all about reconnecting with your
Correct.
deeper consciousness and
Yes.
connecting.
That definitely will help you. It gives you a door to realize that you're more than just the physical body. And then it'll create the curiosity in you. What do I do now?
Thank you, Dr. Prana. That was really informative. We really
So
enjoyed your presentation.
So there is one
And
question by Ajay. How is Marma healing done practically? Is it only by using those objects that you've shown, or also involve things like meditation? Yeah, so you asked the question. Yes, it's both. Marma work is never done without being mindful. The person, in order for a person to help you as a practitioner, yes, we'll use all the objects of stones and oils and even pressing or moving things and pulsating. But the practitioner has to first settle down in his own way to be able to do that. But you don't have to for just basic aches and pains. But if you want to go deeper learning, at some point you have to. Are there side effects? If yes, what could they look like? The side effects is if you wrongly use it. Remember, these points are used for defensive as well. So if you kind of push and press, like for example, the points along the neck, if you press it hard, you're going to get choking sensation. So you'll get for a moment, like the body will push you back. Other than that, there are no side effects. And that's why Shushruth actually wrote it, that these 107 points, you have to be careful when you actually do surgery. So you don't actually bleed them more or cut them more. So the side effects are only if you abuse them.
right, it reminds me of the Star Trek serial where the Dr. Spock used to touch a certain point in the neck and the person used to get totally.
Exactly, go unconscious, yes. Or connect with the point and go into the mind melt. Yes, those actually points are used from the neck and jaw to connect the person's clear the head, but they are kind of copied a little bit from there.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Prana. We hope to see you in Jakarta in May.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for
Thank
joining
you.
this session. And we look forward to bringing you more interesting sessions next time. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.